Hi everybody, Debbie here with Garden Style. So it's been a little while since I've been in touch with you folks, and that's just simply because we had the perfect storm during our busiest time of the year with 90-degree temps and Mother's Day. It made our entire month of May basically one of the busiest months we've had in a long time. So needless to say, things are calming down a little bit. Now that we're starting to head into July and it's officially summer, I finally have some time to speak with you guys. So to kind of give you an update recently on what's been going on, our weather here has been absolutely spectacular, if I can say that, for the Northwest. We had about a week's worth of cloudiness and some badly needed rain, but honestly, we are very low when it comes to the rain department. So now we're sitting here in just the most perfect weather we've had in a long time. It's the end of June. It's going to be about 75 degrees today. There's a slight breeze. The sun is out, and it's just stunning. Absolutely stunning. So what I wanted to cover with you guys today was what is the difference between compost and mulch. That's kind of where I left off in my last video. So I kind of wanted to cover some of that with you and let you know what I use and what I do here in my yard here in the Northwest, so that you guys will notice the difference and hopefully start using it more often in your gardens if you aren't already. So I'm going to kind of stroll over here. It's very sunny out, so I'm about to go out here and you'll probably see a glare here for a little while. But I'm going to cruise up here to the vegetable garden, because I have a little bit of both compost and mulch. Now, when we start talking about mulch, a couple things I want to kind of point out to you guys. So I'm walking up the hill here. Very sunny out. In fact, it's almost hot right now. It's about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, so I'm at the peak of sunshine. So I'm going to stand over here in the shade for a second. So, primarily, what is the difference between compost and mulch? Basically, you can look to the woods, to Mother Nature, to know the differences. As you look at a forest floor, all the things that you are walking on, for instance, on a forest floor, is the mulch that Mother Nature has provided. And what are the advantages to mulch? Basically, especially here in the summertime, it helps to keep the soil cool. It also helps to hold in the moisture and keep the weeds down. And that's the most important reason that I use mulch here in my yard, is to keep the weeds down. Because normally in a normal spring and summer, we're getting rain off and on, and that's all it takes to activate the weeds and get them to come through the soil. So mulch helps to cover that. And why use it? Because it just makes my life easier. I live on a little over an acre here. I probably got 3/4 of it, in gardens. And with my busy lifestyle, as you guys know, when you own a business, you only have so much time when you get home at night. And honestly, there are some nights when I get home where you're just plain too tired. You're exhausted. So you can't let the weeds get ahead of you. So I made a rule several years ago, almost 10 years ago, when I moved into this new house, that I was going to have a new layer of mulch put down every couple of years, 2 or 3 years. Just depends on how much of it has broken down over the last few years. And it has made my life so much simpler, and I always look forward to a new batch going in. So this is one of those years where I just had the entire yard done. Very big yard. I had about 35 yards brought in, and of course 3 or 4 landscapers came in and they had it done in 2 days. It was well worth the expense to me, and it has made my life so much easier over the next few months, actually the next couple of years, because I won't have to do it again for a while. And I'll discuss a little bit more about what type of mulch I'm using. The kind of mulch that you want to use may be a little different, just depends on what is readily available in your area. So what kind of mulch do I use? Well, I actually use like a fine bark mulch. That is what's readily available to me, and I'm going to try and find a semi-shady spot here. Here we go, where I can show you what I've got. All right, let me turn the camera around here. So this right here is a very fine bark mulch. See that? I've got a little bit of grass in there because I just trimmed the edges of the lawn here. And what I've done is I've put it in here, and it's probably about 2, maybe 3 inches thick. You try not to have it too thick, but this is what helps to protect the soil that is sitting underneath. Here's the soil right here. So you can see it's not too deep, but it's just enough to cover so that weeds aren't going to come through. And the cool part about it is it starts to break down and actually enhance the soil and make it even richer than it already is. And you can see this soil here is really dark. That comes from years and years of adding compost and mulch on top. Oh, lovely. Got a grass weed. Sit here and weed out my garden as I go here. So, see, I've got little strawberries in here. Look at that. It's time for me to start picking some strawberries tonight because they're coming up like crazy. But this is what I use it for. So mulch can consist of several different things. It can consist of a leaf mulch. It can be fine like hay or grass mulch. But anything that's fine enough and small enough to where you can handle it and still be able to dig into it when you're ready to plant. So I have found that fine bark mulch is really super easy to deal with. It's easy to dig into because, you know, needless to say, I'm planting something practically all year round. So you don't want to have to fight it. And anything that's like a medium or a large, like bark chips, you hear of a lot of people using bark chips. Bark chips are fine, but they're very large. And if I were to use bark chips, I would use it on the outskirts of my property where I'm not planting a whole lot. They are fantastic for breaking down and enriching the soil, but it takes twice as long for it to do that. So I use a very fine bark mulch. You know, and you might have other debris and things mixed in, like I see leaves here and stuff, but they break down as well. And that just helps to keep the soil cool during the summer. It also helps to protect the roots during the winter. So your plants are less likely to freeze during the wintertime or, you know, experience a frost heave if it gets really cold. It helps to hold in the moisture during the summertime, and of course keeping the darn weeds out, and that's the primary reason that I use it. So hopefully that will clear that up. Mulch is basically the top portion of your garden soil, and the compost is what goes into the garden soil. And I'm about to really get into detail on compost, so let me find another shady spot so I can show you what I've got. Okay, so I went straight to the bag of compost that I use on everything. I use it on all my flowers, my trees, shrubs, even the vegetables. Now there are all kinds of different types of compost out there, but primarily it's a lot of organic material that has been chopped up very, very fine, and then it's been heated up. It's been allowed to heat up and steam, which will kill off any kind of weed seeds, diseases, funguses, that sort of thing. And I mix that in with the native soil in my gardens. So you can't plant in this, just pure plant inside of this. I mean, I suppose you could, but it's lacking the substance that it needs that you find in regular soil. But compost is fantastic, especially if you have a real heavy clay soil. When you add compost to it, it helps to break that up and make it so that your plants are more able to bring up the nutrients out of the soil. Now, clay isn't a bad thing. It's actually a good thing in soil because it helps to retain moisture. But sometimes it retains too much moisture and your plants will end up, you know, getting really soggy and dying because they're sitting in water. And here in the Northwest, that's like a death sentence if you get a lot of rain. So real important that you start mixing this in with your native soils, especially in areas that are really wet. See, sometimes you'll see bigger pieces in there. But this compost here is primarily made up of, you know, sawed up bark and leaves, as well as a little bit of wood chips, pine straw, and they just chop it up really, really, really fine. The cool thing about this particular compost that I'm using is they've also added kelp meal, things like bat guano. What else did I find in here? Earthworm castings, that's another fantastic ingredient in there. And that just helps to feed your plants as well as enhance your soil. Now let's say you have super sandy soil, it just drains too fast. This is where you really need something inside of it to help hold the moisture. See how I do that? And this isn't too wet, it's just perfect. It's fantastic stuff. So this is the kind of thing that you mix into the soil to help break it up and improve its qualities of either holding moisture or allowing better drainage. It's just overall a good thing. Especially for new plants, it helps them get off to a really good start. So I hope that helps to clear up a little bit what compost and mulch is used for. Now, I've had a lot of folks use compost on the top of their soil, like for instance in their vegetable garden, which is fine. I would much rather use compost, something really, really fine, dark, and nice, on the top of the soil to help keep it cool. Because at the same time, this stuff is going to break down, and it's going to break down fast in order to feed the plants, right? And help enhance the soil. And this is something I add to my gardens every single year. Now the product I have here, of course I got the bag all torn up here, is called Bumper Crop. We just happen to be a master nursery, so they kind of have a different label on it than usual. But this is Bumper Crop. It's part of EB Stone. They are located all around the nation. And you can get these in different sizes. You can get them with different types of ingredients. Like, for instance, you can get a mushroom compost. You can get a fish compost. There's so many different kinds out there. And I highly recommend that you guys start to look into it. I'm going to stand up here real quick. Start looking into it and finding out what types of ingredients in the compost are best for your type of garden. Now, not all plants benefit from compost. And a perfect example of that would be what I have down here, lavender. Okay, lavenders, succulents, Russian sage, echinaceas, like what you see over there, all benefit from a little less compost in their soil. They don't like their soil super rich. They would prefer sand and rocks, crushed up shells, things like that, because they really like an alkaline type of soil, as opposed to, say, rhododendrons or azaleas that really like an acidy kind of soil. So just know your plants, know what it is you're planting, and by all means know what kind of soil they require. So I encourage everyone to do a little research, and you've got Google right there at your fingertips to let you know everything you need to know. But basically, I don't worry about it a whole lot. When it comes to my lavender here, I have mulch down in here. You can see where I've got my mulch throughout. And the biggest ticket I can tell you is to keep the mulch away from the very base of your plants. Try and allow a little more room for them to breathe, especially here in the Northwest in the wintertime. It's a good idea to brush the mulch away so you have kind of like a little saucer or a little bowl around the plant to allow air and water in, and mostly air, especially in the wintertime. Mulch can be deadly, especially to trees. I don't know if you guys have seen trees that have like a volcano of mulch around their bases, but that's bad. It's really, really, really bad. So encourage you to start putting some mulch down, protect your soil. I have not had to pull any weeds out of this garden for the last 2 months because I've got it mulched again. Because I noticed my workload was becoming worse and worse and worse last year because my mulch had broken down and I was exposing the soil itself. So there you go. Mulch on the top, compost on the bottom, mix it in. However, the only broken rule to that is I also put compost on the tops of my veggie gardens. That helps to keep the soil from getting too hot as well, and helps to hold in valuable moisture during the summertime. Because as you know, here in the Northwest, we can be soaking wet all the way up until June, and then suddenly the faucet turns off and we are just bone dry. Dry, 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 dry. All right, you guys, so quick video there for you. I've been trying really, really hard to start making some more time and start making some more videos. My next video, I'm going to go over some new perennials that I have just put in. And as we get into summer, never fear, the planting is so not over yet. This is the perfect time to start filling up holes, places where you see plants haven't grown in a whole lot. And that's my favorite thing to do, is just start walking the yard and going, oh, okay, so I need something here and I need something over there. And as you get into summer and it gets hotter and hotter, you can still plant lots of things like succulents, grasses, heat-loving plants, of course, like echinacea. And I honestly have started my own little collection of echinaceas. I keep adding a new color to my collection. It's like an illness. Coreopsis, rudbeckias, penstemon, all of those types of perennials are fantastic to be putting in the ground right now, and most of your nurseries usually have them. So good to see you again, guys. It's nice to be back out in my yard and just piddle around and start trimming, and of course planting more plants where things are needed out here in the yard. You wouldn't think so, but you know, I'm a plantaholic, I'll admit. It is an illness. It's a darn good thing I own a nursery, or I'd be flat broke right now. But yeah, just glad to get back in touch with you folks, and stay tuned as I'm going to start dishing these things out more and more and more now that I have a little more time to spend with you. All right, you guys, I hope that your summer is off to a good start. And of course, any questions or comments, by all means, send me an email to GardnStyleNwest@gmail.com. You can also access our website at sunnycrestnursery.com and sign up for our email. In fact, one will be coming out here in the next week or so. And that gives you a really good idea, not only what our promotions are, but also what kind of plants we're focusing on for that particular month. Which usually means that's a good time to go to your nurseries, find them in stock, and be able to plant them. So there you go. All right. Hope y'all are having a good summer, and we'll talk soon. Bye for now.